Hello everyone, my name is Samanvi and in today's video we'll take a closer look at the strategy that we should adopt to crack the CLAT PG 2020 exam. Now let's first look at the pattern that we have to on which the exam comes. The paper would be set. The first is that there would be the paper would be total of 150 marks. 100 would be 100 questions of 1 mark each. Those would be the MCQ questions. The other two would be 50 marks each, which would be your subjective questions. Now there would be 0.25 mark award taken for every wrong answer, and 1 mark would be awarded for every right answer. There is another rider that has been added, which is the objective questions part rider, that if only you can score 40 marks out of these 100, that means in the objective based portion, if you score 40 marks, only then will your paper be considered for, or your answers would be considered for evaluation of the subjective part would be considered for evaluation. Now this is a very important part which has made the CLAT PG exam all the way more difficult. Hence, we'll have to prepare ourselves accordingly. We cannot just say that subjective part is important or objective part is less important. Both are equally important, and you have to perform and prepare equally for both the parts. Now, the CLAT 2020 pattern had 120 questions because it was online, hence subjective was not possible. We are predicting that by 2021 May, we would have offline exam back and we will have the subjective questions. The two of subjective questions would be there in your exam. If you see the 2020 CLAT paper, CLAT PG paper, there were 120 objective questions in which there were 12 passages from contemporary and landmark cases from different law subjects. Now, this is where the CLAT level, the tough difficulty level has gone way above what was previously in 2019 or before 2019. Now you'll be given passages. You'll have to invest time in reading the passages and not just one or two liner of MCQs and quickly answering them. If now this would include your enhancing the skill of your reading, the how quick do you read, how quick do you remember from the passage, how quick do you relate it to what your knowledge is about the subject. So this if you see the 2020 paper, the most of the passages were from constitutional law, and hence this is what we are predicting, that most important subject would be your constitutional law. Now, till 2019, you were being told that your paper would consist of these many questions from this subject, these many questions from this subject, or in 2019, for example, there were 40 questions from constitutional law, and rest 60 questions would be from all the other cumulative of all the other subjects. Whereas now there is no fixed limit with fixed questions from each subject which are told to you. So there is from the if you look at the pattern, you can if you look at the syllabus, you cannot predict which subject is important and which is not. But if you go on to see the 2020 CLAT paper, you'll see that constitutional law had a major portion, and hence we are predicting that constitutional law is one of your most important subject. Now let's see what are the subjects that we have to cover for the 2021 CLAT PG exam. Now the first is for the combination of the following will be enough for you to crack 2021 examination. Now we have 13 subjects in your CLAT syllabus. Previously there were 7 subjects. Now they've just doubled the subjects that you now have. You also have environmental law now, you have labor law and industrial law now, you have company law, corporate law now. Hence there are a lot of subjects of contemporary importance which usually traditional law colleges do not take up very seriously. Hence you need to be cautious about all the subjects that are there in the syllabus. So what we first need to do is we need to clear the fundamentals of all these subjects that have been given in your syllabus. So if we do that, a significant portion of our now this I'm saying including the constitutional law part. If you focus on the fundamentals of all the subjects that you're talking about, most of the you will have a base of your legal knowledge. Now, why do I say legal knowledge? Because there are certain questions which will be answered based on your legal knowledge. Now, for example, if you know the meaning of certain maxims, you can apply justum generis. If you know the meaning of justum generis principle, you know where you have to apply it. You can interpret it or apply it in a passage that you were given, and you can henceforth try to answer that. So basic legal knowledge, basic legal understanding is important, and that would only be catered to once you've understood the fundamentals of all the subjects that you're talking about. You should have constitutional law understanding. That is, the basic concepts of the constitutional law subject should be clear to you, so that when you're going ahead and reading the judgments, you should not be feeling as if, what am I reading, this is some Greek language. Hence, you should be very careful about the fundamentals, the case laws, because if your fundamentals are not clear, the case law reading and understanding and remembering would be difficult part. Now, the third portion is current legal GK. Current legal GK would be, for example, the farm bills, for example, uh, the EWS reservation that came in 2019. So you need to be aware about what is happening, what are the judgments that are coming on you. You can follow bar and bench, you can follow live law, you can follow websites like these, you can have economic times, you can follow the law updates there. You have a lot of websites, online sources, where you can see and be updated with what is the current happening when it comes to. So for example, in the COVID times, cases of force majeure have increased. So you should be knowing how has force majeure been used, how has it impacted the contract drafting, how has it impacted the application or compensation, or the case, the number of cases that have come before the court. How will the disputes be managed now? How has this affected the arbitration part of it? So you need to be aware about the general knowledge, the current affairs that have been going on specifically in the legal world. Now, this would then lead us to the contemporary case laws that have been coming. We have been seeing the Navtej Singh Johar, the Shivraj Singh Chauhan case. Then there are a lot of cases that you need to be aware of, which are then linking back to your landmark judgments. Now, for example, if you look at the EWS reservation that was brought about, the case that has been brought before the Supreme Court, the primary or the significant challenge that has been brought about against the EWS Constitutional Amendment Act, that is 103rd Constitutional Amendment Act, is referring you back to Indira Sawhney versus Union of India. Hence, what the contemporary case laws would also make your landmark judgments pertaining to that subject matter important. Hence, you also need to understand which are the contemporary case laws that you are reading, and with that, which landmark judgments would then become important. Hence, this link or this chain has to be seen and established and then worked upon. Next is the jurisprudential aspect of all the subjects. So whenever you are reading, so jurisprudence is one of the part of the 13 subjects that I've mentioned. Now, if you are reading the the schools of thoughts under the jurisprudence, you are understanding what are the different approaches of different jurists, how have they theorized what they've theorized, how are they looking at. For example, when this is one of the ways you read jurisprudence, or you try to understand jurisprudence, is what would have Socrates thought about all the political situation that is going on in India. If you want to make relevance, or if you want to make sense of anything that you're reading, what you have to understand is how should you apply that knowledge. Because just reading what Socrates has said and just mugging up would not work, because the change pattern does not focus on or does not check your memory. What they have to check is your application based mind, how applicative your mind is, how contemporary, how would you relate your knowledge to the contemporary setup, what is the contribution that you would make to the social setup, the legal setup. right? So you have to understand the jurisprudential aspect, and you have to relate each subject with the other. So you cannot study each subject in isolation of the other. So if you are understanding constitutional law, you have to also see what effect would it have on labor laws, for example, or what effect would it have, which school of jurisprudence is it relating to, which school of thought, which jurist would be of interest here. For example, if you're looking at Grundnorm in jurisprudence, which is given by Kelsen, how would Kelson's Grundnorm, which refers back to Constitution, is it valid in today's time? Is constitutional law actually a Grundnorm? Is constitutional law inclusive of all the cases a Grundnorm, or is constitutional law simply a constitution as a bare act would be the Grundnorm in Kelson's terms? So if he is talking about pure law, is it applicable in the present sense, or is it applicable only to certain extent? So you have to think, you have to apply the knowledge that you're gaining in all the subjects to understand the other subjects that you're going. So all the fingers have to be interlocked for you to get a comprehensive idea of whatever you are reading. Now, next is analytical approach of the question solving. Now, all of this, when you'll understand the contemporary case laws, when you'll go back to landmark judgments, you'll be aware about the legal updates that are going on. You'll have a constitutional understanding, and you'll have a fundamental base of of most of the subjects, along with the jurisprudential understanding of the topics or the subject matters that you're reading. You will be able to get an analytical approach for writing your answer. What is important in analytical approach is that you're not simply stating what has already been stated. You're putting in what you think about that. So if you have to come down to what you think about it, so you have to base your arguments, you have to base your opinions on the knowledge that you've gained through your constitutional law reading, through your contemporary case laws reading, through your landmark judgments reading, through your reading of the subjects and the jurisprudential aspects of it. So you have to base your arguments or base your opinions on the knowledge that you've gained, and then let the examiner know that this is what I think, and this could be possible if we rely on this. So what you have to say is that there are no, you're not supposed to contend just one thing. Analytical approach would mean that you are looking at different aspects or different sides of one coin. So there are just not two sides of a coin. In your answer, there'll be multiple sides of the answer, there'll be multiple sides of the question, there would be multiple lens with which you can write your answers. All you need to do is open your brain with the help of all the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 points that we've tried to look at here, and only then will you be able to draft an answer which is a holistic combination of all these things, right? You have to cite the what, say for example, if you're writing about reservation, what did B.R. Ambedkar had to say, what was the intention of B.R. Ambedkar while introducing or not introducing the whole concept of Article 15 and backward reservation, all the case laws that have brought that happened, Champakam Dorai Rajan, then constitutional amendment. So that's a chain that you're establishing with the help of all the things, all the knowledge that you've already gained to write your answer, and then relate it to, for example, you can relate the realist school with the reservation, saying that okay, there is no significant empirical inquiry in this subject to base and say that okay, we need EWS reservation or not. So this is where you can bring in your own opinions based on whatever you are reading and whatever you think is missing. So but you have to make a chain and show the loopholes to the examiner that this is what you've done. You have to show the thinking, you have to write and present your thought process in the answer and structure it within the word limits, that is 800 words. 800 words would be a challenge because you would have a time constraint. You would have to fit in all that you've thought in those 800 words, and you have to draft it very smartly so that an examiner knows that you know, and you also know that okay, this is what I need to show the examiner. All right, now let's look at what is the what should be the time planning, and how should you look at the planning in the terms of time that you have. The shift in the pattern will require a time span of at least 4 to 5 months to crack a good law school. Now, in the previous pattern, we had a lot of memory-based questions, and it had been comparatively easier. Hence, people would say that you can spend 2 to 3 months and you can easily crack the exam and get into a good NLU. But what has happened with the changed pattern is that you have to now look at the in-depth understanding of the judgments. You cannot just say that, okay, I'll just see what constitution's articles say and what does the IPC section say. You cannot just go there. You have to understand, you have to go read, understand the judgments, look at the contemporary things, look at what has been happened the landmark judgments. You have to relate, you have to write a subjective answer, so you need to know about the cases, what the judge said, what did he say, what was the approach, what was the lens that he used. So a lot of things you have to look at. Hence, suggested time period for the preparation would be minimum of 6 months, but you can manage, if you go get into the rigorous study, you can manage that in 4 to 5 months. But with rigorous would imply that you need to work day and night. It cannot be just a simple 2 or 3 hour a day and you will crack it. You should strategize and divide your preparation in two phases. So this is what we at Lex Templum do. We try to help you complete your basic understanding of the subjects, that is 13 law subjects. You'll be able to complete those subjects by February, and once you've got the preliminary understanding of the subjects, you'll then be going from March to read, learn, write, practice, repeat. So we are just revising, giving you a rigorous practice hours, practice sessions, doubt clearing sessions, and you'll in the second phase, which would start from March till your exam date, you would be just revising what you're doing. You'll look at the contemporary cases that would have been happening or coming. Supreme Court would have been passing the judgments at that time. We look at those. We'll understand what are the sections or the articles that would be important pertaining to those new judgments that would have come. Hence, this is what we'll do. This is what is our motive, that till February, your basic groundwork of the subjects should have been done, so that after that we can just repeat, we can just learn, we can practice previous years, we can see certain questions, certain patterns, important judgments, important things that have been happening at that time. Now, this is the most important part that I would want you to understand. I want you to listen carefully, is how to make your study plan. So usually we hear people saying that you should make your study plan and stick to your study plan, but the most important part, I believe, is that if you can make a very smart study plan, I think most of your work is done. Now, what is the first important part that you should do when you decide that, okay, this is my goal, this is, I want to clear CLAT PG, I want to get a good NLU, this is my target, or these are the NLUs I'm looking at. You should first start big and see. You should first start to know, like, this is the very first thing I advise to everybody. This is what I've done on my own, that I take a paper pen, I have a pen in my hand, I have a notepad. This is what I see, that these are the subjects I am interested in, and these are the subjects I'm not interested in. So for example, if I hate labor laws, these are the things that these are the subjects I'm least interested in, and these are the subjects I'm most interested in. Now first is this, the second is this, the subjects that I find hard. Now interest and hard can be two different categories. So if you so I like constitutional law, but I find it hard, so it would be a distinct category, right? So first you need to look at these. So why am I asking you to do this exercise? Because this exercise would help you channelize your approach that you will have towards that subject. Now this is where you'll quickly train your mind or tame your mind when you'll be making a study plan, and when you'll have to stick to your study plan. Now this is now if you're making your own study plan, I would advise all of you to have a daily planner. You should take a small notepad, copy, whatever you want to take. Want to write it in your phone, you can do it, but the daily planner, daily reminder of all the tasks you have to do, tasks you do not have to do, should be there. Now this I believe the period of preparation for any exam should be a period where you can spend the most time with yourself, you can improve on yourself, your efficiency, your productivity, approach towards yourself, towards your health, towards your body, towards your mind, everything you have to track. This is very crucial period which you should be doing all this. Now, in your daily planner, at the moment you get up, take your get fresh, whatever you want to do, just sit with your planner and just plan your day. Planning your day is not like, now there can be two ways of planning it. You can say that, okay, at 8 from 8 to 9 I'll do this, 9 to 10 I'll do this. Most of the people that doesn't work, and that seems like a futile exercise. But for if you if you tend to waste a lot of time in, for example, breakfast or other chores, what I would suggest you is that you can just give a lump sum or early planning towards that, that okay, for extra chores, for example, bathing, freshening, eating, uh, just a mid nap, you'll not spend more than 3 hours on that in total. So 3 meals, you have 3 meals, you have to freshen up, whatever, etc., etc., you cannot spend more than 3 hours. Now, only if you'll start doing these activities will you be able to channelize your time where you actually want to do it. So if you have these, just put a small note that okay, I did this from this to this. If you want to do that, it's your honesty towards yourself. Tracking your progress would be easier, because the time you'll lie down on your bed tired, you'll see that okay, this is what I've done and this is what I've not done. The satisfaction that you'll get when you'll be abiding by your plan, it would give you a beautiful sleep. Now, because you've written down, you've planned your whole day, you'll have something to look at. So now this is what happens when you're working at an office. You know that an HR or your boss is there, or ahead on your head. You have your deadlines, right? We all say that we work on the deadlines. So this is what your planner will do to you, that these deadlines would be for you, that if you have to complete a judgment in 3 hours, you have to complete that judgment in that 3 hours. Because reading, writing, preparing for an exam can be a very unaccountable exercise for some people, and some days it can continue for a long period of time. Hence you need to devise a accountability measure, accountability system, where you're accountable to your own self, and you you're ensuring that that is actually happening. So what I want you to do is, the study time that you've allocated apart from the daily chores, etc., etc. For example, you've decided that 7 hours of the day I can contribute, or I would spend in reading. Now, in studying or preparing. Now, these 7 hours should be divided in such a manner that they should be including all the skills that we need to work on. So, the primary skill that you need to crack the objective part of the exam is reading. Now, reading speed is important both for your preparation purpose and also for your attempting purpose. So, if your reading speed is slow, you'll not be able to manage your time, and you'll lose when you're writing or attempting your paper. Hence, we need to work on our reading skills. How much is our reading speed? How quickly do we grasp from the comprehension of the passage that we are reading? How much do we remember? For how long do we remember? Or how much is our reading speed? So this is what you need to work on, and this is where you'll time yourself. Time in the sense, you'll have a stopwatch or you'll have a timer. Read a passage within this particular time and answer, and tell yourself what have you understood, or what is your key takeaway from that paragraph. Now once you start doing this exercise, will you start enjoying the reading part also, and will you also start uh, questioning, and also at the same time training yourself with a better outlook. Now the second skill that you need is the writing skill. The writing skill is in context of your subjective portion. Writing answer formulation is another skill that you have to do. So once you've spent for example 3 hours on reading a judgment, what I need you to do is, you need to in the later portion of this presentation, I will talk about how to read judgments. So when you are, for example, you've spent 3 hours reading your judgment, I want you to jot down quick pointers from whatever you've read. Now a simple exercise of jotting down the quick pointers will do one thing, that you will have a go back go back in the past and remind a quick short revision. So now this short revision will not let you will work on your short term memory loss and help you not forget it soon, so that at least you the time span of you remembering what you've read, and also the quantity of what you've read, you'll remember that for a longer period of time, right? So jotting down, quick jotting down, I'm not saying that you verbatim copy all the paragraphs or just include 3 lines from the paragraph. Just quick pointers that this is a key takeaway, that if I want to tell somebody that okay, what have you read right now, just one paragraph, 2 or 3 or 5 words, 7 words, one sentence, and you quickly sum up that whatever you've read. Just one paragraph, you just do that. Whatever you've read, you have to just jot down, and you have to summarize what you've read. Now also, after when you've read this, when you're making your study plan, you have to also see take spare some time, that okay, this is the time I'll spend with, for example, bar and bench, or the news live mint, for example, or Quint, for example. You can choose whichever apps you want, whichever the media sites you want to go to, papers, e-mint, papers, whatever, whichever site you feel like you want to go at, bar and bench, live law, whichever. Just spare some time for that. Now this can, you can, some people take this as a break from whatever you're reading. So for example, if you're looking at your phone, you can consider it as your break. You cannot go to, you should not go to Instagram, but you should go to, for example, the apps that the for the news. But if, all I'm trying to say is that if you manage your day, you can find time for all the things that you want to do. But what you have to ensure is that you're abiding by the plan you've done. And if you're making a change, if you, for example, your mother has asked to do something and you have to postpone your task by an hour, just ensure that it is just postponed by an hour. It's not left for that day, right? So you have to ensure, and you have to be honest with the plans that you've made, and because that plan you have made and it's for you, you have to ensure that that has been done. Now with this, when you're retiring to your bed at the night, just see how much have you done, how much is left, because your backlog will make you a bit uncomfortable while sleeping, and if you completed, it would give you a beautiful sleep for the next day. Now both of this would work better for work in your favor for the next day, because the next day you'll be uh, you would want to get rid of your backlog, and you just try to get yourself back on track, right? Now, the next thing I want you to do is weekly revisions. Now, weekly revisions are not like big time revisions, spending the whole day and just revising. Just I want you to flip through the pages of the notebooks, or the we've jotted down our pointers, right, from whatever we've whatever work we have done throughout the week. Just have a quick flip through the pages. Just okay, this is what I did. This is what that. So this is just giving you a photographic memory of whatever you've done, so that you don't forget the site of the notes or the site of whatever you've read. Now, the next thing is chits and short notes that you can see daily. Now, don't take it as for us. These are the chits and short notes that this is what I used to do when I was preparing for my competitive exams. I used to make small notes of each subject. For example, constitutional law. So I always had tough time remembering the articles, which article talks about. So fundamental rights till 51A, I think you can remember, but post that it's a little difficult. So what I did was I had a small board, and I made each small notes which I wanted to things that I wanted to memorize. I would just day and night going to the washroom, coming back, going for the lunch, coming back. I would just quickly have a go see through and quickly understand. Okay, do I remember what is in Article 47? So this is how you keep on questioning, keep on evaluating yourself each and every moment. But the when you'll see them consistently in front of your eyes, even when you would want to ignore it, you will not be able to ignore it. Now the last thing that I suggest you to follow is reward and punishment. So whenever you're making a study plan, I always had a small box in the right bottom corner of my page, which would say that if I complete, for example, 9 out of 10 things, I would reward myself with. So I'm a foodie, so I would always for example, I would say I'll get myself a chocolate or whatever I want to eat. But if I do not complete it, I'll not be pampering myself. So reward and punishment strategy, whatever works for you, or if this does not work for you, but all you have to do is all you have to what is your goal is to see that you're becoming accountable, or you're seeing that what you've planned, you're actually doing it, because we just don't want to end up not doing anything throughout the day, right? We need to make most of the uh, most from our day as much as is possible. Now once you've done that, so for example, now the process of studying is not easy, right? We can say that okay, we are spending 7 hours, but how much are we gaining from that 7 hours? What is smart study, what is hard? So you're not supposed to just study, you're actually supposed to study smart. Now study smart would include, one thing is that because with the changed pattern of CLAT, you cannot read anything and everything, because the syllabus is so vast, the literature is so much that you cannot just read anything under the sun, right? So you are supposed to be smart, be clever in a manner that you know what is going on around you, and you know what would interest an examiner, and what would he ask me when for example he would be setting an exam paper. So what I'm asking you to do is apply the reverse engineering. So what would you think would be important for the examiner, right? So if you're saying that farmers bill is going on in the controversy, you would know that okay, contract farming bill, it's there. It can dispute resolution be important? So what all sections would then become important if farm bill uh, is in question? Now if you see for example COVID-19 situation, post majority I was mentioning, so there would be importance of frustration of contract. Section 56 would come into picture. Section 32 would come into picture with the contingent contracts. So you need to go back and look at what are the provisions which would become important in light of the contemporary happenings, or the latest developments in the uh, that are happening in around us. This is how you would get to know that how you would I would say measure the importance of one thing over the other. I'm not saying that you can skip section 31 if 32 becomes important. What is important for you is to not forget anything around section 32, since that has got contemporary significance, right? So you need to know everything, but there are certain concepts, or the thing that makes concept or a subject important is that you cannot miss anything from that, right? So the concept of reverse engineering is this, that you are spotting what is important and what would have spotlight and what would not have spotlight. So with this, you have to read the recent developments, amendments. For example, the Amazon Reliance arbitration case was in news. So with that, you would need to know what is arbitration, the concept of emergency arbitrator. For example, you can get for example, a passage from that. They would ask you when did, for example, arbitration, what is, so for example, which model do we follow, which international convention of arbitration do we follow? Unsit trial, you should know. Farm bills, media laws, TRP scam. So you should be aware of legalizing the same sex marriages. They have the Supreme Court has got a case petition before it to legalize the same sex marriage. So you need to see what is important in the light of two things. One is the objective questions, because objective questions will be fetched from the passages of these recent important cases, right? Also these contemporary cases, these contemporary topics will fetch you subject questions in your subjective part. Now if you would know that okay, legalizing same-sex marriage, what are the critical points around it, you can relate it to the jurisprudence, the school of thoughts that school of laws that you will be reading in the jurisprudence. You can relate it to, for example, realist school. You can relate it to sociological school. You can relate it to philosophical school. Going down, you can relate it to one of the theorist or jurist under those schools. what you have to show the examiner is that whatever you are relating to, you are making making sense out of it to reach to an opinion what you are saying or what you feel is your opinion. So how to study if so oh I'll just sum up how you're supposed to study. You're supposed to study keeping in mind, keep you have to keep on checking what are you reading, are you supposed to read it or not. So you cannot just spend all of your day reading a topic which may be of your interest but will not be of relevance for your much relevance of your exam for your exam purpose. So you have to spend time proportional to the importance that it would have in your. Now the next question that any student would have is that how would the student know that how is this important. So now this is where you're finding your employer. The fountain of importance comes from what is in news, right? Because something that is in news, the examiner would want to check that whether are you aware about it, whether are you cautious about it, whether do you think that your contemporary that your traditional knowledge is can be applied on the contemporary knowledge, or how are you rejuvenating your traditional knowledge. This is what they want to test you on. So you need to question each and everything that you are reading, and if you're questioning it, you would also be summarizing it of summarizing what you're knowing. Now the exercise that I told you here, that which subject interests you and which subject least interests you. So if there is a subject that interests you, this would imply that if that subject also has more of importance. So for example, if constitutional law interests you and it also has more of importance, it would make your journey, make your path towards learning it, understanding it easier. On the contrary, if constitutional law is least important to you, you're least interested in constitutional law, but it's a very important subject, you know where you have to work on right from the first day. So this exercise will help you channelize. So see, all the subjects that you have to, for some, for example, in your law colleges, you would have spent more time on constitutional law because you had more interest in constitutional law. On the other hand, somebody else would have spent more time on labor laws. Now this is what you have to understand, that all your plan would be curated based on your what do you have in your pockets, right? And where do you have to go. So plan it accordingly, map it accordingly, right? Now this is a very very important part for the preparation of your CLAT 2021, which is how to read your judgment. So we've received a lot of questions from students that how should we read a judgment. The judgments go as long as 100 pages, as long as 300 pages. How are we supposed to know each and everything? So the very first thing that I would suggest you to do is that don't take up reading a judgment as a, oh my god, this is something which is very heavy to read. I can't read it, this is some Greek language. You should not be reading or taking it up with that approach. Take it up as a storybook. Find it's like a storybook and you just start reading. Now once you start reading, will you understand that okay, this is something which is not important, right? So you are not judging, you cannot judge a book by its cover before you read at least 5 or 10 pages of it. So this is what I'm saying. Just whenever you find that there is a certain thing, just start reading it. Don't find yourself that okay, this is a very heavy task to do, I cannot do it. Just don't think. If you know that you have to read Indrasoni, you have to read in Indrasoni. There's no escape to that. Hence you have to start reading it so as to for you to reach the end of the judgment, right? We can what we as teachers can help you, we as faculty members can help you, is tell you that you have to emphasize on this paragraph more than others. But what you have to do is read. If you do not read, if you do not know that this particular judgment is from this particular paragraph is from this particular judgment, it would make the whole process of reading and the whole investment, the time investment in the reading, make it a futile exercise. We don't want to do that, right? So once you've started reading it, after say considerably 3 paragraphs, 4 paragraphs, or for example, facts are over, or the judge has discussed the issues that were presented before it, or the contentions that were presented before the court, you need to pause and summarize. Because if you take it as a whole, you'll read 50 pages as at a whole, the chances that you'll remember something, or remember something that had happened in the contentions part with the judgment part, it would be difficult for you to relate, right? So pause after every 2 paragraphs, 3 paragraphs, and see what that paragraph is actually trying to tell you. So when you'll do this pause and summarize, I want you to jot down certain pointers, right? I told you to do this exercise before also. This is the list that what should you know after the reading. So now, I've mentioned here, create your own chamber of secrets. What I would call a chamber of secrets is your own register of judgments, which I think would be your treasure for lifetime. Have a page or two for a judgment. For example, take what this register should consist is a whole bundle of judgments. For example, you're starting with say article 1. So let's not go to article 1, let's straight away go to article 12. Let's see, the airport authority case. You have 2 3 important cases there. You just write the name of the case, the date and the year in which it was decided, the judges. There were 3 judges, 4 judges, one judge wrote on behalf of the other, or what was the bench, constitutional bench, 5 judge, 2 judge. You have to just mention it, just quickly note it down there. What you can do is you can try to bring in different colors, because the colors help you memorize. Next thing that you have to do is, what were the articles that were that were referred to, or that were important, that brought in the case, and what were the important cases. So for example, if you're talking about Indra Sawhney, there would be MR Balaji would be the most important case that was referred in Indra Sawhney. So you should know which cases were referred, for you to understand what are the so this is what you should know, right? Next thing is that you should have a relation with the jurisprudential approach. Now this would only happen once you've made these pause and summarize pointers after the paragraphs. Once you've done this, you have to just scribble down paragraph wise, or 3 paragraphs after 3 paragraphs after 5 paragraphs. Make a pause, whichever pause, whichever time is comfortable for you. Just do that, find that pause timing comfort. Because if you are not spending that time, you'll not be able to understand what your reading speed is, what your understanding speed is, what your grasping power, how much is that, right? Now next, you should be jotting down is, make 2 parts of a paper. Now what one is contentions on behalf of the petitioner, the contentions on behalf of the uh, respondent. Now this will help you have a clear simple understanding of, because you when you'll read through judgments, you'll find that they have endlessly gone ahead to discuss or bring in a lot of things around just one point. So the bone of the contention would be just one thing, and they would be, beating around the bush, talking this and citing different authorities. And so you need to get down to what is the real bone of the contention, right? So you can do this for both the parties. Okay, this is what A party said, and to counter this contention, B party said this. So this would help you understand, or make clarity about the reading or the judgment that doing. Now with this, when you have the contentions, the issue wise, you would know that what was held by the court. Now there would be certain judgments where you'll find that the issue, apart from the issue, the court has decided something else which became important, which we call obiter. So you have 2 parts of the judgment, which is obiter and ratio. So ratio is definitely, no doubt, it would be important. These paragraphs you should be marking when you're reading the judgment. If you've marked these paragraphs that this is the most important paragraph, or the a paragraph, maybe you can, for example, if you're reading MR Balaji and post that you've read Indra Sawhney. Now MR Balaji was overruled in Indra Sawhney, but what were the points that were reiterated from MR Balaji in Indra Sawhney would be the paragraphs that you would know that these are the paragraphs that have been important, because these have been upheld cases or judgments after judgments, right? So this is how you will understand slowly and steadily that this is something that would this is like a basic knowledge, a basic understanding of the law that you will develop post you will start reading. So just don't stop that, okay, you will not, just don't stop thinking that you've not read it properly. You've read it. If you got 10% out of it, you've got 10% out of it. So 10% is better than 0%, right? So just don't stop. Now what next point I would ask you to do is make a list of the keywords, key phrases. For example, uh, P.R. Ambedkar said this, and you think that if you're reading that reservation, that quote is important, right? Just scribble that below and you can use that quote when you're writing a subjective type answer, right? So this quote would beautify your answer. The whole process of beautification of your answer is an entire whole discussion when you're structuring your answer. This would attract the examiner while he or she is reading your answer. He or she would know that, okay, this person has clarity in his mind. And if you're remembering a quote, that means you are a die hard fan, or say, for let me say, you've read that particular quote twice or thrice at least, right? So I can see an effort behind it. This is what you should have. Now this register would be your chamber of secrets, and this register would you be reading before your exams, and the whole time from March till the exam, you would be reading, you would be revisiting your register, revisiting the paragraphs that you've marked, that okay, this is the ratio important part. And for example, the recent Jagjit Singh case where EWS reservation has been challenged, you'll again have to go back to MR Balaji, or you'll again have to go back to Indra Sawhney. You would know that the pointers that from Indra Sawhney that you've mentioned, which ones are important, which paragraphs are important, right? Now, since we've done this, we've made a study plan. We now know how to read, how to study. We need to know how to write, how to read judgments, what to take, what we have to take away from the judgments. Let's now look at certain important tricks. Now, now these tricks include read, learn, and revise. Now, I think reading, learning, and revising would be the most important part of this, because if you're reading, if you're learning, I would say that if you're just doing that once, that would not fetch you a lot of memory, but revising would definitely do. So small revisions, as I've already mentioned, pause and summarize, or weekly revisions, a quick go through to have your photographic memory. These small exercise would help you attain the level that we want, that we are not confused in the exams. So what is the biggest challenge when you have passages type questions, that if you're asked to know the judge, or if you're asked to mark the judge, which judge has written the judgment, and you what you need to understand is, so the exercise that I asked you to do with judges and benches here is that whenever you're reading the judgment, you will understand the approach a judge would adopt. So more or less, you will see the trend with which judges, or the approach with which a judge is writing his judgment. So this would help you gain a what should I say, legal knowledge, or a base of answering a question, that if you want to go to if you get an answer of a judgment which you have not read, but with the judgment you get after reading the paragraphs or the passage that you've been given in the exam, you would have a certain approach. You can sense that, okay, this is the vibe that the paragraph is giving you. You can try to attempt that, right? It can give you certain basis for you to attempt that question. Now, the next important point is practice as many mocks, as many questions as possible, wherever you get it from, whichever place you get it from, just do it, right? We at Lex Templum give you a lot of passages to do that every week. You're getting for each subject, and that is as rigorous as can be possible, which would help you in the long run, right? Read at least 3 landmark case laws every week on contemporary topics. Now, why is this exercise given? Why are we talking about just at least three landmark cases? Is that this will help you go back to, or just figure yourself back to whatever is important and whatever is recent, right? So landmark till recent, you have to bridge this gap by reading, right? Be your own examiner. Now why do I say be your own examiner? Because whenever you are reading, I want you to do this small exercise, that if for example you've read a judgment, what would you ask the students if you would have been the examiner? So just quickly, just spend 2 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 7 minutes of thinking that what do you think would the examiner be asking, would be asking from this particular reading or this particular paragraph. This is where you will at least crack a certain percentage of the core question that could be asked from you in the. Now the chamber of secrets, as I've mentioned, this is your toolbox to success. You have to be very cautious about this. You have to be very you have to revisit this chamber of secrets every time you can do that, and now this is your treasure, right? We have to practice writing at least two subjective questions. Now if you practice writing, if you're practicing writing these two subjective questions, what you have to start from, what you have to do actually is to structure your answer before you're actually writing it. So see, map the answer in your head. Just do this mind mapping, quick 2 3 minutes mind mapping before you can before you actually start writing your answer. When you're doing this, whenever you're doing this, make certain headings, right? Whenever you're doing this heading, whenever you're making these headings, it would make your answer look beautiful, right? Start with a quote is what I would always suggest. As I've mentioned, you can find these quotes in all the judgments that you would be reading, the news that you would be reading, a lot of people, a lot of judges, you can cite them. You can I think you can do this you can take this as a matter of practice, that you can continue this for every answer, and this is somewhere something you would remember, right? So some quotes can be universal, which can fit in most answers. So just try to find those quotes and keep them, like revisit them, so that by the end of the preparation you know and you remember them, memorize them, right? So just practice them, send it to your faculty members, send it to us. We'll be reading, we'll be telling you what is missing. So just structure your answer, because this is an exercise that would tell you that this is missing, this is what could be added, this is what is good about your answer, and would help you you know triumph over this answer writing skill of yours. And the next one is develop reading habit, at least 10 to 15 passages daily. Now this is for you to track your reading time, because reading skill is a skill that can fetch you the opportunity for you to be evaluated in your subjective part. So you have to be very cautious about your reading time. How much time do you spend in the reading portion of it? Just quickly try to do that. If you map yourself, if you check yourself, if you keep a discipline on yourself that you have to do that, then you have to do it, right? So just this is the seriousness with which you're looking at this. All right, so now you have around 140 140 days, 356 hours left with you, which is definitely enough to crack the exam and attend your dream national law university in the 2021. Uh, for any doubts, you can reach us. We are always there. Lex Templum is there for you to for us to help you. Uh, please, please feel free to have any questions. Uh, thank you.